myself first. My name is Melody. I'm the project coordinator here in Dallas Chinese Community Center. And today we are really happy to have you guys here to listen to this valuable seminar. And first of all, I'm gonna introduce our DCCC board member Tina, and she's gonna come here and speak to you guys and welcome you guys. Welcome, Tina. Thank you, Melody. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tina Higley. I am the vice chairperson for the board of the DCCC. I just want to represent DCCC to thank all the parents and the students to come to listen to the education seminar. And I also want to thank David willing to provide his valuable time to share his vast of experience with everyone. And we will have a Q&A section afterwards. So just kind of enjoy the talk and ask all your questions at the end. And hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Okay. So now I'm just gonna briefly explain how this seminar will run. So we first of all we will have the first topic, the cultural divide. It's more towards to the parents and how the speaker will explain it and talk about how the students might face with the cultural differences and the parents can better assist your child. And after the first part, we will have a question, and you have any question during the seminar, you can hold up, and then you can raise your hand, and we will call you and answer. And after the first part, we will have a few minutes that BCCC and Jiaoshan CCHC will share some our upcoming events. And then we will have our second part seminar that's more towards the college interview for students. So the content will help the students to prepare their college interview. I think it would be very helpful for any kinds of interview as well, like a job or a school. Yeah. And then after the second part, we will have a second Q&A section. Yeah. All right. Now I am going to introduce our speaker for today, David Liu. David was born in Taiwan and he grew up in Southern California. And he graduated from MIT in 1979 with a degree in mechanical engineering. And later he earned an MBA from the Sloan School of Management in 1984. And he was working across several industries, including aerospace, defense, government services, and importing, distribution, and has held various roles in sales, marketing, and management. He's done a lot of different roles, so he has tons of skills that he can share with everybody. And also, David has been an MIT interviewer for over 40 years and has been very involved with the MIT Alumni Club in different roles. All right, please join me to welcome David Liu today.
Thank you. Thank you.
If anyone prefer to write or if you want to write on the caption, you can use Canva, so you can have it here. You can raise your hand if you need a paper and pen for taking a note.
Thank you, Tina and Melody, for the opening remark and introduction. And I want to thank everybody for coming this afternoon. Everybody knows Saturday afternoon is your prime time to be running errands or take a nap. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank, of course, the Chinese Community Center here and the Chinese Christian Community Center for co-sponsoring this specifically, we have Melody, Sunny, Jim, and Lisa, helping with all the administrative details of this event, make it all happen. All I have to do is show up and talk. And the first topic was originally we were thinking about making a separate talk. But I've given many talks over the years here at Chinese School Invitation, and also some of you may have gone to the McDonald Educational Workshop, which I've been taught a number of times. And they even invited me to go and gave the same talk in Houston. So the second topic is very easy. I can do it. Oops. No. They're very easy. I can do it in sleep. But the first part is something I want to talk about, and it's number one. I'll tell you the first part, the objective, is not to offer any parenting advice. I have never had children, so I'm not qualified to talk about that at all. So that's not the case. What started is that over the last 40 years or so, when I've been interviewing applicants for MIT, and that's been hundreds. And what's really interesting is that, when you interview applicants, you got people from all kinds of backgrounds. But when it comes to specifically Chinese kids, a lot of them are actually born here, but they still act very Chinese. And a lot of those qualities are not exactly prized over here. I'm sure many of you understand that. And that's something I feel like if given the opportunity, all I'm going to do is kind of relaying my experiences and my observations. I've been interviewing applicants since 1979 for MIT. It's been a long time. And so I've seen lots and lots of students. That's my observations. And I will tell you a little bit more about that in the second part of the discussion, specific interviews. But the first part is that it's really funny when I talk about applicants with Chinese heritage. I'm talking about people from China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Southeast Asia, all over. They are Chinese. Okay. They're not Malaysians or Singaporeans or none of them. Okay. And that's why I think it makes it a little easier because there is a common thread. And the thing is, why am I seeing applicants that come for interviews that are, I can recognize them. They're very Chinese. Why is that? And I would say that's the parenting part. And I think most of you, particularly the parents here, been grasping with the issues that they would like to help their kids to getting the best school they possibly can, but they really don't know how to help. Okay? I mean, that is a huge thing. And I say, why is that? That's why I'm talking about the cultural divide that we don't really understand the American culture as much as we should. So, we'll try to help. I'm going to try to help you with that this afternoon. Hopefully I can do that. So the whole college mission, Melody was kind enough to give me 6 topics. We try to address that throughout this entire talk. These are things that you guys put down on your registration form. Parents, okay? Number 1, what top schools are MIT looking for? Okay, particularly like extracurricular activities and so forth. Okay. Financial aid, I will touch upon that. student motivation and guidance. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. Interview prep, that will be explained in the second session, second talk. And parents feel a general uncertainty and lack of clarity, understandable. We're trying to explain some of that, mystifying some of this stuff. And the last one you're going to have to work on your own is that feeling overwhelmed by the process. Okay? And, I can share that, but I have no experience with that at all. And I said, when talking about applicants, Chinese applicants with Chinese heritage, that's a gross generalization. Of course, I met many exceptions. People with, very articulate young people, and that can do anything. I've taken leadership roles and all of that. You can go home now. You don't need that. Okay? Well, I'm talking about people that have done very well in school, and maybe parents can help them to get into schools that they want to get in. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to explain what the parents need to do to help their kids. Okay? And it's not sending them to cram school or hiring tutors or none of that. The mindset. Okay? You have to have the right mindset to do that. So, and then of course, some parents will hire an outside firm, consulting. There are a lot of companies that are in that business helping you get into top universities. You've done that, you don't need me. You got professionals to help. And I also want to do this in the same context. I think we're going to take a pretty broad view of this thing, overcome the cultural divide. Okay? And like Melody was saying, we're going to have two separate Q&A sessions. There'll be one at the end of this part, and then there's another one. And then, so save your questions for Q&A sessions. But if you don't understand what I just said, feel free to interrupt me anytime. I'll clarify myself. Okay, you understand. So, I think one of the tough part for anybody is that the understanding of the foundational differences between Eastern and Western culture. I'm talking about going a little deeper. It's not just language. It's not just living habits. It's more than that. Okay? And I will tell you something here. Many of you may not have heard that from anybody else. I will say, for the parents here, the immigrant parents, your trip to America is a one-way trip for you and your descendants. One-way trip. Just remember that. I don't care. You say, oh, I go visit Taiwan every summer. Big deal. It's still a one-way trip. Okay? And think about it. 99+% of your fellow Americans have their forebears coming from somewhere else. And I cannot think of one case, as long as I've been here for over half a century, I've ever heard anybody having their parents or grandparents returning to their country of origin. This is what I mean by one-way trip. Okay? And this is why you need to understand and change your mindset relative to cultural differences between East and West, because your descendants are going to be Americans. 100%. Okay? And I think a lot of Chinese will say that they really don't want to do that, because what that implies is that you're adapting to a new culture, which means you have to abandon the old culture. On the contrary, you can maintain both. Okay? And when you maintain both, you can traverse between the two effortlessly, just like you can switch languages. Not a problem. Okay? So, I mean, don't feel like by doing that you're abandoning something. You don't have to. Or you're just adding to your repertoire. Okay? The bottom line is, you need to be a chameleon. It may sound funny, but it's exactly what it is. Okay? You can have 100% Chinese when you're among your Chinese friends. But when you're at work, other social settings, you're going to be like everybody else. I need to do that. And I think to a lot of degree, most of your kids are already doing that. Think about it. If your kids is attending kind of a family and friends gathering, mostly Chinese people, they act very Chinese. But when they're among their friends, that's not the case anymore. How they do that? Because they switch. That's what part, community. Okay? So in my case, I came here when I was 13. I was brought over here by my parents. I have two younger brothers. I didn't have any choice. Didn't know why. Just came. That was it. So you learn, you go to school, and all that. But it's really interesting. When I went to Shanghai for the first time in my life, my family from Shanghai, to visit my grandmother, whom I'd never met in 1984. And the first thing I did was I went to the American consulate in Shanghai. Because all I want to do is file a record. When I arrive, when I'm leaving, what hotel I'm staying, because I have no idea. Okay. Whoops. I need to turn that off. So, at that time, the Chinese consulate in Shanghai, there was a long line. This is 1984. Think about it. This is over 40 years ago. There was a long line outside the consulate. Oh my gosh. But, with the American passport got it at it. And the way I understand it is a lot worse today. Okay? And I can also say, you can go around to American consulates all over the world. There's always a long line applying for visas. Okay? And as I've gotten older, I realized that what my parents did was the right thing. And they have never gone back. Not even for a visit. That was truly a one-way trip. My mother died 25 years ago. After she got here, about the furthest place she's been to is when I took them. We were living in LA, and we went down Tijuana. That was about the amount of travel that she did after she got here. And so I think that coming here, in my opinion, to the greatest country in the world is the right choice. And there's lots and lots of people around the world that wants to do that. Okay, so, of course, language itself is a very important thing, because without that, you have no way of communicating with non-Chinese speakers. And your cultural understanding, how they think, how they live, and all of that will be greatly diminished. So language is a very important thing. But, that's not going to be, you cannot do that overnight. what I want to say is that understanding of American culture is pretty deep, okay, not on a superficial basis. You all have experiences with your coworkers, colleagues at work. Do you really know how they think? Do you know what they talk about among themselves? What's important, the family, and all of that? You don't. Most people don't. Okay, so uh, and even I've lived here for 40 years. I was moved here by my company at that point. People, even among Americans, Southerners are very different than the people from the North. Okay, and Boston, Bostonians are totally different than New Yorkers. Okay, and there are regional differences as well. You really understand that? Like that Bostonian accent, I can hear that a mile away, and they talk totally differently than New Yorkers, okay, or people from Mississippi. I don't even understand when they talk. Okay, so there are vast regional differences among Americans. So let's get to the second point. This is what I used to tell my staff all the time. If you don't know something, come and see me. We'll put our heads together and figure out a solution. But it's not okay if you don't know what you don't know. Okay? If you don't know what you don't know, where do we start? Okay, so if you know what the issues are, you can find solutions. But I think when it comes to what I want to talk about, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. That's a scary part. It really is a scary part. Because of that, the Asians in this country, mostly Chinese, are always being viewed as a silent minority. You thought about why that's the case? Why are we silent? Because we don't like to engage with other people. That's why we're silent. We don't want to talk about it, or our inability to communicate effectively. Right? So, uh, and to me, this silent minority thing comes from what I was saying earlier, is that people are under the mistaken belief that if they adapt more and more American culture, which means they're abandoning their own culture and they want to hang on to that. And they really want to hold on to that. They don't want to lose it. I'm saying is you don't have to make that choice. There's no need to. You can be comfortable in both cultures, but not understanding the dominant culture in the place where you live. Remember the one where you pick a partner? It's a travesty. You need to understand the American society, the country, and your fellow Americans. Okay? That's my advice. And I think that is why I'm very careful in picking the word adaptation rather than adopting. To me, adopting means you become something else. You're adopting the habits and all of that. Adapting is, okay, I understand, I can, remember the old saying, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. That's what I mean by adapting. It doesn't mean you throw everything else away. Okay, you don't have to. And then I also, I've always told my folks that whenever you're looking at the problem, stand back, look at the problem on a 30,000 foot view, not 50,000. Big picture, okay? Because a lot of us all have the same problem. We can see the forest through the trees. The old saying. That's what that means. And the other thing I think a lot of the parents have is that most East Asian countries, China, Japan, Korea, Thailand, Hong Kong, all that, all subscribe to the idea that you have to, there's only one way to achieve success. I basically look at that as the Confucian idea. Okay? There is a very definitive caste system. And in China, or China, Japan, Korea, the only way you can break the ceiling is through exam, massive exam, pushing everybody to do the same thing. Is what I call you keep trying to put a round peg in the square hole. Regardless. And what I've been trying to convey to everybody, and we talk about it in the second part as well, there's no need to do that. There's really no need to do that. And I'll comment a bit more when I talk about the Tiger Bomb symbol. I'm sure most of you have heard of that. Think about Korea. They're infamous for their cram schools. Okay? And the government said, you have to shut it down by 9 p.m. They'll lower their curtains, turn down their lights, and keep going. Okay? That's the Korean cram school. Why? Because in Korea, if you don't get into the top 3 schools, you have no future. And then not only you have no future, those 3 top school graduates get into the big company, LG, Samsung, Honda, Kia, and all that. Not only you get into a great company, and your salary is going to be much, much higher than anybody else or anywhere else. Okay, that's that whole. And I will tell you that's definitely not the case over here. That's not the case. The second point, the ability to accept the divergent cultural norms and values. You don't have to agree, but you have to accept. Okay? Again, I will say, I use the same word. Not only accepting, but adapting. Okay? I'm not saying you have to abandon what you believe in, but understand where they're coming from, be able to do, or adapt. Okay? Adaptation. Certain superficial issues are not important. You go to Asian people's homes, you're expecting a new issue. Most people will, it doesn't matter who it is. Okay. At your house, you set them in, it's okay. It's again, we're not superficial things, it doesn't matter. I want to talk about something a little deeper today. For instance, the Confucian idea. Okay? One of the things that it's a millstone around all of our collective net is the fact that we were always being told not to question authority. Think about that. Use your parents, your teacher, or anybody, or elders in general. That's not the case over here. Everyone's equal. You can question authorities because authorities may not be right, They may be completely wrong. Okay? For the Chinese kids, they told, can't do that. Right? So, that is a big thing. Okay? And the next thing I think that's very much that I've been observing for over 40 years is that Chinese kids or Africans in general do not know how to express themselves well. In other words, they're not marketing themselves. I'm not talking blowing hot air. Okay? I'm talking about being able to communicate well and express your ideas and so forth. Most of the Africans are not very expressive. Okay? And guess what? When you don't talk, you cannot express yourself, people get the mistaken impression that you don't know what you're talking about, or you don't know. You equate to somebody who's less capable than you actually are. Okay? Make sense? Then the next thing, this goes back to the silent minority. If you go to any top school, I remember when I was applying to college, I was living in Southern California. At that time, the Asian population at UC Berkeley was 60%. Think about it. This is almost 50 years ago. 60% at UC Berkeley, Asian population. And MIT, I bet you was probably 30 plus percent. And in graduate schools, it's even higher. Okay. However, once I'm out of school, I've been interviewing kids. We're called education counselors or ECs. Over the years, very, very few Asians volunteer for that. I go to our club activities. I've been officer recently. Very, very few. We may get one or two coming to our activities, but certainly no officers, no nothing. You're gonna have to ask yourself why. I don't know why. I can't explain that. So, getting involved is important. Getting involved with your neighbors, the homeowners association. I've been president of my homeowners association. Okay. People don't get involved. So that's what I'm talking about. And also, this has been a big topic if you guys been following Taiwanese news recently. What freedom / liberty really mean in America? Okay. In this context, the word freedom and liberty are interchangeable, one and the same. What does that mean? What it really means is you have the right, constitutionally guaranteed right to what? Free speech, free assembly, okay, and religion, and the right to a jury trial. And no government can approach upon those rights. The governments get sued, and those issues go straight to Supreme Court. Okay, so that's what liberty and freedom do. I always say you have the freedom to do anything you want, as well as the freedom to do nothing at all. Right? I can say something, but I'm free to say nothing. That's what freedom and liberty really means. Um, and then the next topic, and then we'll get into the parent-child relationship a little bit. What does assimilation mean? Okay, we're going to talk about one-way trip and how quickly the parents get assimilated. It's up to you. Your kids will be assimilated in your presence because they were born here, they grew up here, they went to school here, and they are friends at every step. So that's not a problem. I think that over time, we retain certain habits and customs. Think about if you know Italian families, great grandparents came here. As long as they're still, if both parents are Italian, what do we do at home? They speak Italian. None of them knows any Italian, but they retain certain, certain customs and dietary habits. And we used to have a joke in Boston. You go to a typical Italian family. What do you have? Shag carpets, lots of pink, purple decorations, all that. Very, very Italian. And you ask them, these people have been there 3, 4 generations. Doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter. But these are Americans. They think American. They don't think Italian. So, and what happens over time is that we will think ourselves as American first, Chinese second. Okay? Because you often hear the word Chinese American, Italian Americans, or whatever, hyphenated. By the time you get to the second and third generations, no more hyphenation. You're American. Right? Nobody refers to a third generation Chinese person as a Chinese American. He's American with a Chinese heritage. Right? That's about as far as it goes. Right? So, so this is why they call us ABCs what? Bananas? What does that mean? It means you have a veneer of being Chinese, but you internally, I'm not going to use the white division, basically American. You think as American, and it shows up in your language as well. It becomes we, not them. We, our country, we. Okay? That's as your mindset is stuff change. Okay. So parents need to understand that. You think you've done a good job because your kids will still be able to communicate with you in Chinese, but they don't think Chinese. I'll guarantee you, they think of Americans. Okay, because that's what their friends are Americans, their teachers are Americans. They all know when they go home, they have to kind of revert back to the Chinese person after that. Okay. So, but at the end of the day, we have to understand that this diversity or dynamism of America is what brought us enormous wealth and power to the country. That's where it's coming from. Okay? Without the melting pot, America is never going to be what it is today. Okay? So, let's talk about understand the different frames of mind between parents and children. Okay? And I will say the fact that I've observed a lot of these kids over the years, 40 years now. I will guarantee you the parents don't understand their kids. Okay, they're still trying to bring up their kids according to what they understand to be the traditional way. And I think that's a huge problem. So, particularly when it comes to navigating this college application process, your kids are going to do what they want to do, but you as the parents, not only you got to pay the bill later, you need to help them. And you say, what am I supposed to do? I really don't know how. Why? Well, one of the things, how many of the parents here has gone through the application process, college application process, to an Ivy League school? Anybody? No. Okay. A lot of you have done that for a graduate school. And I'll tell you one of the biggest difference between the two. Every school, bar none, handles the college admission process at the school level. Okay? You get admitted to a school, not to engineering, science, pre-med, all that. You got admitted to the school. School will give you time to decide. But the graduate school admissions are handled through what? By department. Even when I went to Sloan School admissions are handled by Sloan School, not MIT. Okay? They set the rule, GMAT schools and all of that. They do their own thing. Okay, and that's the big difference. And I think that's the biggest blind spot for parents, any parents, or any parents, is that if you haven't gone through that process, going back to you don't know what you don't know part. You cannot get away from that. So, and I think all parents, if you think you're going to be stuck with $80,000 a year expense going to a private school, you certainly would like to help your kid. And I'm not exaggerating. And I'll talk about the next point.
Thank you, David, for the great talk. And now we are open for Q&A.
Not yet. Give me 5 minutes.
Sorry.
5 more minutes. I'll finish it up. I'll go through this very quickly. You need to understand their individual personalities. Okay? Not everybody is fit to be a doctor, scientist, or okay. You gotta get them to do their own thing and try to help them. Okay. And I'll mention a couple of things, and we're going to skip a section here. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the term filial piety. Anybody knows what that means? Okay, what does that word mean? It's a big deal in the Chinese or Confucian society. Filial piety. And a lot of Chinese people are told, all Americans are not really that. I challenge you. Americans in general treat their parents just as well, except they don't label the such. We're talking about labeling difference or difference in emphasis. Okay? And then one of the things is that America is such a diverse society, and you all see that. You know, there's so many different ways to success. You don't have to be one thing. But we think that, getting the top school, and their chance of success later in life is much higher. And I think statistics for that. you won't be making more money. But then you start thinking, well, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, or Harvard dropouts. Okay? So, and then I will mention an example, a TV personality. I don't know if any of you older generation will recognize. There was a cooking show. It was hosted by a gentleman by the name of Ming Tsai. Ming Tsai. Ming Tsai grew up in his parents' Chinese restaurant in Ohio, but he's a bona fide graduate of Yale University. Okay, he went to Yale when he really interested in cooking. He has a really well-known restaurant in Wellesley, Massachusetts, a successful TV host, book style and all of that. Okay, so he probably followed the rule of his parents. You need to go to a good school. Okay, I went to Yale, now leave me alone. All right, and so I think that one of the big things is to be able to manage your own expectations. Okay, and then by extension, manage your children's expectations. And that's the way to success. Not everybody is a good fit for Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, MIT, Princeton, it's not for everybody. Okay, so yeah, I will end it here, and then let's just have a short Q&A. Anybody got a question?
We have a Q&A section. Please raise your hand if any question, and I'll pass the microphone around. And if you have any question and you have anything that you want to share that you found interesting or something new that you learned, we have snacks and candy that we will pass out. You raise your hand.
Thank you.
Say something. Anybody want to share what you learned today?
Oh my God, I put everybody
Anybody
to
have
sleep.
a question? Anybody?
What did you hear, like one point, like in your mind, like express you?
Something that stands out.
The parents also can share. 爸爸妈妈如果有想要分享也可以哦。
She came to the rescue.
So when you interview the students, excuse me, how do you know? Like, okay, so you said that you could tell they are very Chinese. So in your mind, does it add points to the interview, or does it minus the point? No?
Very bad.
Very bad?
I'm going to give you an example that I was going to mention in the second session. Okay? Over 40 years, I've seen all kinds of people. But the one applicant, I think he was from Richardson, Oklahoma, typical Chinese applicant. But he was going to Cistercian Abbey, which is a Catholic school near my house. So that school was assigned to me. So he came to my office for an interview. I couldn't beat 3 words out of him. Okay, he just looked at me and said, yeah, no. That was it. And I finally said, okay, I will do you a big favor. Why don't you go home? Think about it. And when you're ready, call me up, and you come back, we'll restart the entire interview. Over 40 years, I think this kid was born here, was the only one I sent home without finishing the interview.
So what question did you ask him?
Well, any kind of question, it doesn't matter. What your strengths and weaknesses, what's the most challenging thing you've ever met in your life? So forth. I could not beat anything out of him. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Only one case over 40 years. Anybody else? Okay, well, I think the second session I'll hear a lot more. Oh, one more. She hasn't finished? I'm sorry. My apologies.
I would like to ask a question. So, among all the Asian students, we were kind of expected to be academically um, excellence on this way. So when you interview the Asian students, do you expect they have like great GPAs, phenomenal SAT scores and stuff like that? Are you all more like focusing on their personalities, the way they market themselves?
Yeah, absolutely not. We are told, again, we're going to go, this is right into the second session. Basically, interview as an interviewer, this is across the board, Ivy League plus schools and most of the colleges. You're not allowed to ask for GPA. You're not allowed to ask for SAT score. The only thing you're allowed to ask is what they do, and they do, the family, what they do in school, activities that they participate in. We're specifically not allowed to ask for that. So that part doesn't matter. And for us, for MIT, what the school wants to know is, does this applicant possess the fit for the school? And that fit, I know what that means because I've been there long enough. But somebody who's interviewing for Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, Caltech, their definition of that fit is going to be a little different. And this is what I talk about. Every school has its own DNA. It's a little different. And if anybody has a question, again, and you're welcome to ask questions in Mandarin.
Thank you for your session one and let me learn a lot of things. I didn't receive any education in the United States, and I feel like, graduate school, you apply to the department, so we look for the greatest professors. And do you have any suggestion for my child? How to find which school is her dream school? Do you have any suggestions like or go to tour that school or talk to somebody or how to find her personality fit that school? Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know for the simple reason is that kids, my little brother, with my parents are always very dismissive because he did all his work, schoolwork, in front of the TV set. And finally, he went to UCLA. He does very, very well. And the reason that he went to UCLA is that because all his good friends were going to UCLA, so he decided, well, I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to keep playing with them. Okay? This is a point that I have not made, is that one of the things that every parent needs to watch out for is their friends. Okay? Watch out for the friends. I have a very good high school friend. His father was obviously Chinese, with his last name Chow. He spoke up. His mother was white, and parents divorced, so he's living in a single mother. I used to go to his apartment because they had a tennis court. And after a while, I stopped going there because every time I played tennis from his apartment, all I could smell was dope. Okay? What does that tell me? That he's hanging out with wrong friends. So I stopped going. Okay. So you as parents need to watch out for those signs. Chinese example. 孟母三迁是意思。Okay? Anybody else? Yeah. Like I said, you can ask me in Chinese.
Thank you for sharing. How do you expect to see the impact of the Trump administration on college application, especially for Asian applicants, as they are trying to stop DEI, as you know?
That's a big topic, and I don't think we're going to see that much difference just by the cancellation of the DEI thing. But I can tell you, remember I talked about when I was applying to colleges back in the 70s, early to mid-70s, I went to school in 75. 60% of the graduate, of the student body at UC Berkeley in Asia. So what you have always in academia was reverse discrimination against Asians. You notice that? Always been there. Okay? Meaning that Asian kids have to do better than the average white kids. And we can go back and talk about Jewish students back in the 50s and 60s. Okay? They had the same problem. Harvard actually had limits on Jewish students back in the 1950s. But hasn't stopped their progress. Okay? So it may or may not have any impact. I can't assess that. What I'm saying is, like anything else, do the best we can. Be the best we can be. Okay? And I wouldn't worry about that because nothing you can do to choose it. Okay. Anybody else?
Now we are running running a little late, so you can save the question for the second part. I'm sorry. Alright, so now we are going to give some updates on the CCHC 讲生，我们会分享一下我们最近的一些活动。Gonna share some upcoming events. The first one will be the seminar, the financial seminar that I host next month in April. We will talk about retirement planning and how investment. And then the second event is the robotics. So if anybody interested in robotics or you know someone that's robotic, please come join us. And it's on April 26th, 10:30. Okay, and we also have digital classes in the summer as well as online ESL class. And also we have a Taiwanese artist. It's called her name is Cecilia Chen, and she has painting at the Crown Museum of Asian Art until next year March. So you have plenty of time that you can go look at her art. Alright, now I'm gonna pass my microphone to Jiaoshen Danny. She's gonna share her, their event.
Hi. What I come to share is the global 6K walk for water, which is held by World Vision. And this year the host is Collin County Chinese Fellowship Church, and co-hosted by CCCH. This event is will be held on May 5th, on May 10th, 9:15 to 11:30. What is for water for the people who doesn't have clean water, and which like every day more than 800 people die because of water. This event is the registration fee is $50 for adult and $25 for kids. And yeah, basically it's in Plano, the bus racer park, like not far away from here. So the next event is called Easter Egg Hunt, which is held like April 19th, which is a Saturday, 2:30 to 4:30 at Collin County Chinese Fellowship Church. And also, we also have the Herald Monthly, which is in Chinese, and you guys can learn from it. Basically, thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Thank you, Danny. And if anybody have interest in any of the events that we mentioned, we have flyer and monthly newspaper at the back. You can grab one on the way out. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna dive into the topic about college interview. I'll let David to continue.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I talked too long. Your 5-minute break is over.
There's one more point I want to make. Two, actually. Do not be a tiger mom, okay? And Amy Chu, I think is her name, law school professor. Okay? Both her kids got into Harvard, Stanford, very, very successful. My speculation on that part is that, number one, she had 2 daughters. Trying to do that with 2 teenage boys. I don't think that'll work. Okay? So, it's not the type of behavior that everybody can bring in. So I'm not for that, but again, never been a parent, so I can say that. Then the other thing that I forgot to mention, which I think is very important and kind of segues into the next topic, is that we, even in Chinese, we always say what? Modesty is a virtue. Think about it. Is that really true? Here? Is modesty really a virtue? Very, very bad when it comes to image. Okay? So not modesty. Okay. So, all right. Now that gets into, I think, why we're here. Interview. One of the things I like to, which I found really interesting, when Melody sent me the stats that she